The modern world operates at a relentless frequency. Algorithms demand our attention. Concrete canyons trap the sound of traffic, and the sheer velocity of daily life leaves little room for stillness. Finding silence requires physical distance. In Hong Kong, that distance takes the form of Lantau Island, a mountainous landmass separated from the high-density urban sprawl of the mainland by the waters of the Pearl River estuary. Today, visitors cross the threshold via a 5.7-kilometer cable car. The journey elevates passengers directly over the airport infrastructure and deposits them into the quiet, cloud-swept peaks of the Ngong Plateau. In 1906, before the steel pylons and concrete paths, this was a harsh, unforgiving terrain. The plateau was a remote expanse of dense thorn bushes and coastal forests, completely cut off from the developing city center. This extreme geography was the appeal. True Chan Buddhist meditation requires an environment devoid of societal friction, where the mind can turn inward without the interruptions of the outside world. Seeking this exact isolation, 3 monks, Dai Yu, Dun Shu, and Yu Ming, traveled from Jiangsu province on the mainland. They manually cleared the mountain's heavy brush to carve out a space for practice. They built a modest stone house, which they later expanded into a simple shelter they called the Big Thatched Hut. It was the genesis of a spiritual enclave. Their daily lives were anchored in the core philosophy of Chan Buddhism. The emphasis here was placed heavily on Zuochan, or seated meditation, a practice aimed at achieving the direct, experiential realization of enlightenment. Over the next century, that solitary thatched hut steadily expanded. By 1924, it was officially renamed Po Lin Monastery, growing from a secluded hermitage into one of the most recognized centers of Buddhist teaching in southern China. The modern reality of the plateau is defined by a delicate balance. It must maintain the austere, meditative purpose of its founders, while accommodating the millions of visitors drawn to the pilgrimage site it has become. For those visitors, the arrival at the base of the Tian Buddha presents an immediate physical challenge. A sheer stone staircase of 268 steps rises between the plaza and the summit. The climb is intentionally steep and exhausting. The verticality is the equivalent of scaling a 15-story building, forcing the body to work against gravity. The architects anticipated this toll. Wide rest platforms are built into the ascent, offering necessary breaks while providing shifting, increasingly intimate perspectives of the summit as the climber draws nearer. This exertion carries specific spiritual weight. In Buddhist tradition, each step upward represents the deliberate shut-in distractions lower on the mountain. The physical drain of the stairs is a carefully calculated architectural feature. The resistance demands presence, using physical exhaustion as a tool to quiet the mind before the final encounter. At the summit platform, the Tian Buddha reveals its true scale. The bronze figure of Shakyamuni Buddha sits 34 meters high and weighs nearly 250 metric tons. Constructing it required precise engineering. The exterior skin consists of 202 individually cast bronze pieces, all wrapped around an internal steel truss designed to withstand the severe typhoons of the South China Sea. This orientation marks a specific break from tradition. While most major Buddha statues face south, the Tian Buddha is oriented north, directing its gaze toward Beijing and the Chinese mainland. Every curve and gesture is strictly codified. The raised right hand is held in the Abhaya Mudra, a posture signifying the removal of fear and the extension of compassion to all sentient beings. The left hand rests flat on the lap in the Virata Mudra, a gesture representing the fulfillment of wishes and the continuous offering of blessings. Beneath the figure is a multi-tiered lotus throne. The flower symbolizes pure enlightenment, rising cleanly above the sludge and turbulence of the material world. By fixing these symbolic gestures into a 250-ton bronze frame, the architects turned the summit itself into a permanent vessel for Buddhist thought. This configuration ensures the monastery's core teachings remain visible from miles away. Moving away from the exterior monument, the focus shifts to the quiet interior spaces. A 3-story pedestal houses a series of exhibition halls, shielded from the crowds outside. Within this structure lies the Hole of Remembrance. It acts as a sacred reliquary, holding what are believed to be the cremated physical remains of Gautama Buddha. The static, silent reverence of this chamber stands in sharp contrast to the continuous, living practice occurring back down at the Po Lin Monastery complex. Down in the valley, the monks maintain a rigorous routine. They integrate Chan precepts into necessary manual tasks, tending to the gardens and preparing communal vegetarian meals to sustain both the residents and the visiting pilgrims. The sanctuary's continuity depends on this cycle. While the bronze monument remains static above, the tradition is preserved through the repetitive, disciplined movements of the monks living at its base. When the main plaza reaches peak density, a short walk from the monastery leads into the isolated natural trails of the Lantau peaks. This trail opens up into the Wisdom Path. Here, 38 timber columns rise from the earth, each inscribed with verses from the Heart Sutra. This topographical map shows the column's spatial arrangement, following the mountain's contours to form a figure 8, tracing an infinity symbol. The Heart Sutra centers on sunyata, or emptiness. To represent this, the highest column in the loop is left completely blank. The Wisdom Path forces a shift in perspective. It asks visitors to look past massive physical forms and to recognize the interconnected emptiness at the core of the material world. By late afternoon, the intense crowds begin to thin, and the plateau is washed in the warm, fading light of the golden hour. The frantic movement of the secular valley is now entirely absent, replaced instead by the high-altitude stillness of the summit. Despite the colossal scale of the infrastructure, the mountain somehow manages to foster quiet moments of deep, intimate contemplation as the winds sweep across the stone plazas. The final test of this experience is the physical descent back into the modern world, returning to the high-speed transit lines and bright lights of the city below. The Tian Buddha remains anchored to the ridge, an enduring invitation to pause.